Socialists, communists, Jews and gypsies were hounded by Heydrich's secret state police, the Geheime Staatspolizei, or Gestapo.
The truth was that the Gestapo was everywhere, from this time on, until liberation, in fact. It was the synonym for the Third Reich. It was the code word for Hitler's Germany, for Nazi Germany, and for terror.
As the Gestapo's chief from 1934, Heydrich made it an instrument of terror. At its peak, it had 45,000 staff, but it fed off a huge network of spies and informers. Propaganda films encouraged citizens to report to the Gestapo the slightest expression of disloyalty to the Reich.
Behandelt den Schwätzer so, wie es verdient, als gemeinen Verbrecher. Denn gefährdet das Höchste, dem wir alle dienen. Unser deutsches Volk. Parole, Mund halten.
Das war ja auch charakteristisch für ein solches.
That was typical of such a system. A system which always appealed to the evil in people. It meant tarnishing your neighbor's name. When you read the files, you see how it was like something out of the Middle Ages, like the Inquisition. Neighbors could battle out personal feuds by denouncing one another, and that was enough to cause serious difficulties between them, if not a lot worse.
Ralph Giordano lived in Hamburg and was arrested 6 times by the Gestapo because of his Jewish ancestry. Interrogations often lasted several days and nights. Among the many socialists interrogated was Emil Brunner from Dortmund.
One after another was called down from the cell. It often took place at night, and nighttime interrogation was associated with beating, fights, and all sorts of torture. That all happened mostly during the night, so that the neighbors in the area would not hear too much of what was happening to these people. There was a prisoner next to me who had gone down to the cellar. Half an hour later, he came back up, blood pouring from all over his face. They had beaten him up for so long, blood was coming out of every pore of his skin. Then he told me what he'd confessed. He'd received 2 illegal leaflets. He said, all I did was receive them, but they still beat me half to death.
Hermann Lauschbein was arrested in Düsseldorf in 1933 for distributing anti-Nazi broadsheets.
I was led into the cellar, and under the cellar was yet another cellar. When I finally got there, I thought, no one can hear you here. You can scream as much as you want down here, so it's probably going to happen. Yes, now it's going to start. And then they started. So now you're going to confess. One of them sat on the table, a rough kind of table in the corner. And the other one started to get angry. Then 2 SS men came down into the cellar with riding whips and started to strike me. They tore off my jacket, but first I had to lie down on the bench so that they could thrash me better. I thought, you have to endure it. You have to hold out, because you can't give anyone away. They'll grow tired, I thought. They did indeed grow tired. But then 2 others came down, and it started all over again.
Laubsien was imprisoned by the Gestapo for weeks.
I don't know how long anyone can take that. My back was raw, and every additional blow on that sore spot is torture. It's no longer a beating, it's torture.
Many were killed in their cells. In Cologne, prisoners left traces of their desperation, scratched onto the cold walls.
Hours pass like years. The room only knows sighs. Laughter fades to sorrow, and the sun no longer shines. When will this agony come to an end? I am here, and I don't know why.
As a thoroughly committed Nazi, Heydrich persecuted all enemies of the state with ruthless vigor. The German Jews were top of his list of undesirable citizens. He's on record as saying that all Jews were intolerable to his soul. In the 1930s, he favored their expulsion, so-called emigration to Palestine. He claimed to be a Zionist, encouraged support among young German Jews eager to create Israel.
Lots of us wanted to emigrate, especially the young ones. We believed it was best to get out as quickly as possible. The older generations, the parents and older relatives, wanted to stay. They said, "This is our homeland. This is our fatherland. I fought for our German fatherland, my child," my father said excitedly. "We are staying here." And so a great proportion had no intention of getting out. They didn't even think about it.
In March 1938, Hitler annexed Austria as part of the Third Reich. Heydrich grabbed the chance to test out his policy of mass expulsion of the Jews. He had emigration centers set up so that Austrian Jews fleeing persecution could get their emigration papers processed with maximum speed and efficiency. Heydrich's henchman in Vienna was SS man Adolf Eichmann. He too had many helpers.
At the time I said to Eichmann, make an emigration center that has a long table with seats for all the representatives of the travel agencies, of the tax office, of the consulate and so forth. He took that up with enthusiasm. I wasn't exactly proud of it, but though they aren't really appreciated today, these emigration centers were effective. And then the process went very quickly, you see. And he did the same later in Prague and also in Berlin, and they all got out a lot faster.
Within 18 months, 150,000 Austrian Jews had been driven out of their homes, stunning proof to all concerned that Heydrich's policy could work.
Eichmann acted with the same fanaticism as everyone else. I, Eichmann, will show you what the Führer wants. We will make Europe free of Jews. They shall all emigrate.
Heydrich, as head of the Gestapo, was doing exactly what the Führer wished. In fact, Heydrich was even outshining his boss, Himmler. SS comrades joked, Himmler's brain is called Heydrich.
Himmler had to be pushed to do what Heydrich wanted in the end, to achieve his goal, the purging of the party, cleansing the party of its enemies.
Heydrich also sought to eliminate all the Nazis' opponents within the church. He soon had a network of informers within the Catholic Church in Vienna, spying on nuns. Helena Kafka was known simply as Sister Restituta.
I cannot understand how they could kill such a person. So atrocious. Terrible.
Sister Restituta was devoted to her job as a nurse in the operating room at a Viennese hospital. She was strong-willed and resented any attempts to muzzle her religious freedom.
She had been ordered, and she had refused to take down the crosses. That was something of a bone of contention. She said, "I will happily put a cross up, but I certainly will not take one down."
When Sister Restituta disseminated the words of a soldier's song criticizing the Nazis, a doctor denounced her. Her file has been preserved in the Vienna Gestapo Index.